It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
And welcome back to another episode of the Real Estate Breakfast for 2023, of course, available every morning on iHeartRadio, Spotify and Apple, and wherever you get your podcast from. Wow, another weekend has arrived, another busy day around the country, and a big shout out to all of our friends working in the real estate industry, the many agents who will be out there representing their clients from Cairns to Perth and all cities and suburbs in between. Have yourself a fantastic Saturday and a great weekend. Yes, it is a Saturday. It is March the 25th for 2023, and we are back with our friend Anthony Landahl. He's the managing director, and this morning we're going to be having a look at refinancing your mortgage. Is that the right time? And of course, plenty of things happening out of the US. We've got some failures, of course, with the Swiss bank as well. And boy, the cost of living, all these things back home, it does have an effect. So good morning to you, Anthony. Another busy week, it seems, internationally and locally.
Yeah, another busy week in terms of the economy, and that's across the world, and that obviously flows back into mums and dads' hip pockets for existing mortgage holders as well as those looking to try and get into the market. So a lot of factors with cost of living pressures, and closer to home, obviously, the interest rate rises we've had since May 2022.
Those are some of the talking points we will get to in just a moment. Is it the time to refinance your mortgage? Anthony, back in just a tick.
We talk to some of the most influential figures in the real estate industry, from leading commentators to investors to real estate principals, only on the Real Estate Podcast. Whether you're a seasoned investor or a first-time buyer, know your property with us on the Real Estate Podcast.
Well, you might have caught up on this news about a sinkhole that opened up on a property in Collie, Western Australia. Pretty scary stuff. It has caused concern, as you would imagine, for its owner, who discovered her land was above an abandoned mine from 1903. A fact that was not disclosed when she bought the 2.3 hectare property. The owner requested help from the state government, but was told that she was on her own, as the Mining Rehabilitation Fund did not have enough money to help her out. The Western Australian Department of Mines advised potential buyers to check for abandoned mines and said that it was providing advice to the Shire of Collie about the risks. But it just comes back to that whole due diligence. Make sure that you are checking absolutely everything. Now, if you're celebrating a birthday, let's check on those for March the 25th. Happy birthday if you are celebrating. And Paul Michael Glasser, you might remember him as one half of Starsky and Hutch. He is turning 80 today. Elton John is turning 76. Hayley McElhinney, an Australian actor, is turning 49. And Bonnie Anderson, the Australian singer, she is turning 28.
It's the Main Centre forecast.
And let's check on the Saturday weather. First we go to Sydney, expecting some showers. Well, they should turn up if they're going to this morning or early afternoon, expecting a high of 24. Melbourne expecting partly cloudy skies, should be mainly a dry day with 21. Brisbane maybe one or two showers, 31 is your forecast high. And in Perth today, a little bit of cloud cover, but the sunny fine conditions continue, and your high of 29.
What to buy, where to live, and things to avoid. Every morning on the Real Estate Podcast.
And we are back with Anthony Landahl, the Managing Director of Equilibria Finance. And as we mentioned, there's been a lot of media noise, in fact, every day on interest rates, property prices, and the challenges mortgage holders are facing. And one of the common themes is mortgage holders looking to get that all-important better deal. So firstly, Anthony, what are you seeing out there in the market, and what's on offer for mortgage holders looking to refinance at the moment?
It's a busy market in refinancing at the moment, and there's a lot of noise, and I use that word in the sense that if you're a mum and dad or if you're an existing mortgage holder trying to navigate this environment, but in overview, from a lender perspective, if we start from that perspective, if someone's looking to refinance, we're seeing a very competitive market out there for new to business. What I mean by that is if someone's got an existing mortgage looking at changing providers, then generally speaking, the providers are offering rates that are lower than their existing rate. There are some providers out there who are pricing their existing clients new to business rates, but generally speaking, there's some real opportunities out there on offer for people looking at getting a better variable rate. There's also some cashbacks on offer, which are a little bit of a gimmick in my view and impact the marketplace, because ultimately cashbacks sit on balance sheets of lenders that need to be paid back over time.
So what do you think is now a good time for mortgage holders to refinance? Because this is the critical question that many people are sort of playing with at the moment.
Yeah, I think people have to take a considered approach. It's easy to rush into something like this and say, look, I can get a cashback over there or I can get a better rate over there. What's important is to go, well, what are my reasons for refinancing? Am I getting a better rate? How much interest will I actually save? What's the cost of moving from one provider to another, including discharge fees? If you've got a fixed rate, what are some break costs? Are there application fees? Are there valuation fees? Are there settlement fees? So understand the costs of refinancing, and also understand some of the terms and features you might be getting if you are changing product. You might be in a loan at the moment that has some fantastic features with offset, with redraw, with a great internet facility, and you might be moving to a different provider who may not offer all of those things. So make sure you understand the product you're going into, the rate you're actually getting, and also the costs associated with moving. And I also make this point that often providers might have an introductory offer for 1 or 2 years to attract new business to them. Understand what happens after that period as well, because often after those introductory periods, people then get caught in a rate that reverts to a higher rate. So really take a considered approach and really understand what you're moving to and what you're moving from.
Yeah, so those are some very good points that you're making. And what are some of the key considerations mortgage holders need to be aware of when refinancing?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because with these interest rate rises and with the falling property market, there's some challenges out there for refinancing as well. For example, some people might have found that the value of their property's dropped a little bit, and when a valuation occurs, the value of their property means the loan to value ratio won't accommodate a refinance. So they're caught with not having the equity to refinance. The other thing we're finding is because of these rate rises, it's really impacting serviceability. Someone 2 years ago might have captured a rate of 2%, for example, and that would have been assessed by the provider at a rate of 5%. Now with rates at 5 or 5.5%, that's getting assessed at 8 to 9%, which means in some cases people are unable to service or actually move providers. That's what we call a mortgage prisoner, where they're unable to capture that better rate. So there's some of the things to be aware of. There's some levers people can pull to try and assist that. They can look at, for example, lowering credit card limits. If they've got money in redraw or offset, they could look at paying some of the loan off so that it does service. But understand the environment you're going into when you're looking at refinancing, with serviceability as well as with the value of your property.
Yeah, we've talked about that before, haven't we? Serviceability, because, you know, those numbers that you're saying, when they're jumping from 2 to 8 and they just get trapped, I think people can now sort of understand that whole prisoner of your mortgage. So no doubt those are sort of ongoing conversations, Anthony, that you're having with your clients.
Yeah, the conversations we're having with our clients, they're also conversations we're having with providers and more broadly in the industry, because because it doesn't make sense someone's unable to refinance to a better rate and put themselves in a better position if they've had a good credit history, if they haven't missed any repayments, because serviceability criteria is assessing an individual like that the same as, for example, a first home buyer on a high loan to value ratio. So it is a problem. We are encountering it and we're trying to help our clients navigate it with some of those other things we look at the same time around consolidating other debts, maybe lowering loan limits if we're able to. It might be we have to wait a couple of months until someone's income or job situation changes. So we're certainly trying to help our clients with it, but it is a problem, and it is a problem that doesn't make sense to me personally anyway.
Yeah, and I know for sure that you there and your team at Equilibria Finance, you'll be asked this question all the time, and I think it's worth sort of raising this morning, and that is people saying, what's the process involved in moving from one provider to another? Because it can be quite scary and off-putting for some.
Yeah, look, that's a really good question. For someone looking to move from one provider to another, it is a full credit assessment. What I mean by that is that they will look at this as a new application. They'll look at income, they'll look at living expenses, they'll look at assets, and they'll look at liabilities. So it's a full credit assessment. The provider generally will want all of those verification documents, bearing in mind there's some efficiencies now with open banking and stuff like that. But providers are still doing a full assessment to make sure the loan services, and it's a full process with valuations, discharge of the old loans. So there's quite a lot in it. People have got to be prepared from an administrative perspective. Obviously, from our point of view at Equilibria and other mortgage brokers, we help our clients with that in terms of who is the right provider. There's so many providers out there in the marketplace. What's the right product for you to make sure that you're not losing out on any features, that it actually makes sense to refinance? And we look after a lot of that work, approaching the providers on your behalf and submitting the application. But it's a full credit assessment from start to finish through to shifting to the new provider.
And of course, Anthony is available outside of Sydney as well. So very busy times for you. I'll let you get on for your weekend. No doubt you've been working so hard that you want to put your feet up anyway. Have a fantastic weekend and talk next time, Anthony.
Yeah, it has been, Craig, and thanks for having me, mate. And I think you're right, mate. It's time to go and have a look to see if there's a couple of waves out there and have a surf after another very busy week.
We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.